G'day Grumpies, and welcome to episode 1 of what I hope is one of many, but we never know, of Grumpy Old Bloke goes through his vinyl collection. Now, what I'd say at the outset is that we're just looking at the vinyl collection at the moment, which is extensive, but I've seen bigger, as they say. I've heard that many times. I've also got a lot of stuff on CD as well. I grew up through the period when vinyl faded out, CDs faded in, vinyl faded back in again. But I never really lost my love for vinyl, although for some period there it was very difficult to get hold of any new releases of anything on vinyl. So a lot of stuff I'm going to get asked where is. I probably have it on CD, and I'm currently trying to track it down on vinyl, whatever. So anyway, episode 1, here we go. Now, I said I'd start with A. That was in fact a lie. I'm going to start with a number, and that number is 10. The album, which is first in my collection, is in fact this. It's by 10cc. It's called How Dare You. It was released in 1976, I believe. And this particular copy is an Australian copy, and it's in absolutely immaculate condition. I can't believe I got it at such good value. This is absolutely remarkable condition. It's on the Mercury label, which you may be able to see there. And the inner sleeve also is absolutely immaculate. I don't think the record had ever been played, to be honest with you. Now, this particular album contains 2 of the better-known tracks. I'm Mandy, Fly Me is on here, and also Art for Art's Sake. It doesn't contain a certain song which I'm not a big fan of. Well, I'm not in love with it, put it that way. Don't forget that. But now, why did I buy this particular album? When 10cc were at their peak in the late 70s, I think this is their 4th album, I wasn't a big fan. The music didn't really appeal to me, and so I didn't collect it. But many of the artists that I respect, not least of which is Stephen Wilson, of Porcupine Tree fame, amongst other things. If you guys haven't heard of Stephen Wilson, look him up. Do yourself a favour. But because of his patronage, I thought, okay, I'll go back and check that out. So this was, when I saw this, I thought, well, I'll be silly to ignore it. It's a bargain at that price and in this condition. So, look, I have listened to it. Still really don't really do it for me, I have to say. But I'll crack on. I'll keep on at it and see what it is that I'm missing. I'll probably collect a few other albums by them around probably the first 4, 5 albums, something like that, just to see whether or not there's a pattern. But it's a bit disappointing because I really wanted to like them, but I'm afraid I just didn't. So a bit of a disappointing start there to the collection, but it's about to get a lot better. So we move into A proper, and the first band under A, alphabetically, would be as well, which is interesting, is a band which is more of my musical oeuvre, if you will, my musical taste. Now, this fine group of chaps, let me just dig this out for you, on pitch disc, aren't they wholesome looking guys? This is, for those of you who don't know, Accept. This is their first album on picture disc, as you can see. There you go. Now, I'm not, generally speaking, a big fan of picture disc per se from a music quality perspective. I'll keep holding that up. But I have to say, I do find them aesthetically quite pleasing. And so I don't have that many of them in the collection, apart from when we get onto one of the M bands, which we'll see later on. But this was their first album. And for me, Accept really were the first band, really, for me anyway, that started the whole thrash metal heavy sound that sort of Judas Priest were moving towards at that time, and bands like Metallica really weren't, well, they were around, but nobody had heard of them. This is their second and third album. This is the Metal Masters edition of, as I say, their second and third albums. Sorry, there's the back cover. Who doesn't love a flying V? This was their second and third album, released as a package. Breaker and I'm a Rebel, I believe, were the second and third albums, which came out early 80s, very early 80s. I can look up the dates for you if you really want me to. There you go, Razor Records, both in perfect condition. Double LP in a single bind. This is the European version of that. So, as I say, second and third albums by Accept. Now, by then, Udo Dirschneider had developed his camouflage, his camouflage, you can wear camis if you like, his camouflage look. First time I saw Accept was in support, I believe, of Judas Priest, I think. Now, I can't remember, I'll have to look that up. And he came out wearing sort of pink flowery satin, and I'm thinking, mate, that's not a good look, but it doesn't go with the voice. But since I loved his later stuff. Now we move on to my favourite Accept album, which for those of us have known Accept for years, this is Restless and Wild. This is, without doubt, Accept for me anyway, at their absolute best, when they really found their sound, their really sort of hard-rocking, thrashing sound. Sorry, that's the back of the album. There you go. And this particular one is on red vinyl, which I absolutely love. Ironic, really, because I said I didn't really like picture disc and coloured vinyls, but aesthetically, they're fantastic. And do you know what? For most of us, can't really tell. I mean, I've got reasonably good high-end equipment, and to be honest with you, can I tell the difference? Maybe. If I didn't know, if it was a blind test, I'm not too sure I would. But anyway, Accept, Restless and Wild, without doubt my favourite album. This came out in 1983, and I think that predates a lot of thrash metal. I mean, their first few albums certainly do. So I reckon they were a much bigger influence than many people give them credit for right now. Especially as those first few years they were touring and recording, and their English, well, certainly Udo's English, was not all that good. I believe he's fluent now. I've never had an interview with him, so I don't know. But to consider they were really up against it then, because, I mean, Rammstein have broken all the boundaries since then. No one cares that you speak German or Spanish or any other language, but at the time, it was quite difficult for bands to break through if they didn't speak English, and certainly Accept sang in English, as did the Scorpions at the time. So I wonder, I don't know, maybe they've got recordings in the original German. That'd be quite interesting to hear. So if you know of that, if any of you have heard anything like that would be great. I'd love to hear that. Anyway, following Restless and Wild came Balls to the Wall, complete with its suggestive cover. I don't know what it's suggesting, but I've been told it's suggestive. And this was them at their commercial highest. This is when they'd really sort of gained a little bit of momentum. I believe they played, I think this was 1984. Well, it says 83 on the cover, but 83, 84. And I believe they played Donington, Castle Donington Monsters of Rock. That would have been 83 is the first time I went. But it would have been about that sort of time. They were playing Castle Donington as well. Portrait label, black vinyl. For those of you interested in that sort of stuff, there you go. Beautiful condition. Well, most of these albums are in perfect condition because I've owned them since new. So I've always really looked after my albums. It's almost as if I knew what my future held. Anyway, moving on from Balls to the Wall, we have Metal Heart. Again, this is black vinyl on the Portrait label. This came out, I believe, I'm checking the numbers as we look on the back, it was about 85, 86. It says 85 on the label. There you go, Metal Heart. Okay, there's nothing particularly different or forward moving about this album. It didn't really carry on the momentum for me. They started to drop off a little bit in their impact. But with all good bands, of course, you need a live album to pick your game up again. This is Kazuku Ban, which I believe in Japanese means bootleg. But this isn't a bootleg, it's an official release from Accept. Only has 6 tracks on it. As you can see there, only has the 6 tracks. But is a good sample of what they sounded like live at the time. I would love to get a proper recording of them playing Castle Donington. Monsters of Rock Festival, that would have just been awesome. In fact, there are so few recordings of the Monsters of Rock Festival. I think obviously there's the official releases by AC/DC and Iron Maiden, I think, have recordings of them, or DVDs of them, certainly. But it would be lovely if anyone has some old recordings, if some expert could get onto them and restore them and get them out. That would be awesome. Imagine seeing Dio in there. Anyway, final album I have, but not the final album by any means, because they are still going strong, except was Russian Roulette. This was, I believe, their 7th album, or it might have been their 8th album, but their 7th studio album, something along those lines. Except Russian Roulette, what can you say about it? It's an album by Accept. For me, they had really sort of gone off at that point, and this is the last Accept album I own. I have heard a number of albums, or certainly tracks from them since this was released, which was with 85, 86, I believe. It might have been later than that. I'm just having a look. I should plan these things a bit better, shouldn't I? CBS, 1986. There you go. But for me, that really was not the end of Accept, but the end of my level of interest. They became a little bit too formulaic for me, and at that point there were so many other great bands releasing albums at that time, and of course, as all of us, money is limited, so one has to place one's finances where one can. So I stopped buying Accept albums at that point. Never stopped my interest. Still love, especially Restless and Wild. That gets a regular listen from me, and I certainly recommend you listen to Fast as a Shark from that album. If you've never heard Accept before, that would be my intro point. If you don't like that, you're not going to like Accept, as simple as that. Oh, Princess of the Dawn as well, which is also on the Restless and Wild album, and the title track from Balls to the Wall. I would argue, for me, are the 3 classic tracks by Accept that, if you don't know, you should know. And if you don't like Accept, well, your loss. So, there's Accept. Now, what we have now is a real treasure. Well, I'll just introduce it and we'll take it from there. It's Allison Chains, Rainier Fog, named after Mount Rainier, I believe, which is, I'm assuming Tacoma, something like that. This album is just beautiful. I'd like to say at this point, I own everything Allison Chains have done on CD. It was just the period when they were releasing stuff. You just didn't get stuff on vinyl then. I am now retrospectively hunting down, wherever I can, some good quality Allison Chains on vinyl. So I do have everything of theirs on vinyl, on CD. They are without doubt one of my favourite bands. Absolutely love them. What can you say? If you haven't seen Allison Chains Unplugged, oh wow, that's just amazing. But this is their 6th studio album. I'm going to get feedback. What about SAP? It was an EP. It's officially, okay, read their website. It's officially their 6th album. I know they had other releases, but officially, all right? This was their 3rd album, again, officially, with William Duval, who has just done an amazing job filling the shoes of Lane, who, for most of us, how can you replace Lane? Well, he didn't replace Lane, but he has done an admirable job doing his own thing with Allison Chains, and superb. Good on you, mate, because that would have been one hell of a tough gig. Anyway, the only problem I have with this album is whilst it's a double album, it's only in a single container. Single sleeve, sorry, and as such, I reckon they could have gone a little extra step there. Track listing on the back for you there, for those of you who haven't seen it. There we go. Now, as far as the vinyl is concerned, here we go. As I say, it's a twin vinyl. It's not a double album, but per se, it's twin vinyl. Now, the inner sleeve, this is the first of the 2 inner sleeves. The band members there. Lyrics on the back. And the other inner sleeve. Lyrics on the back. And as far as the albums themselves are concerned, this is on the BMG label, which is their first release on the BMG label. Side A and Side B both have that emblem on them. The other one, the other album has same one side, but on the other, now I don't know if you can pick that up, but that engraved etching. I don't know how rare this is. Not that I ever sell any of my albums anyway, so it's irrelevant anyway. So a beautiful piece of artwork there, I thought. And an album well worth having. As I say, I do intend to complete my back catalogue of Allison Chains albums. But as I say, right now, this is the only one I have on vinyl. But as I say, yeah, they're just an amazing band. And for me, I don't... Are they grunge? I don't know. I'm not really so much into putting people into genres. I mean, they certainly come out of that Soundgarden, Nirvana period. Shall I say, Pearl Jam to a lesser extent maybe, but for me, by far and away, the best of that era, that bunch. Their ability to sing with Lane particularly, obviously, and William now with Jerry Cantrell singing together was just that perfect harmonies against an awful lot of minor and diminished chords, which just sends shivers down my spine even to this day. So there you go, Rainier Fog, Allison Chains. Okay, now a treat for you Southern boys and lovers of Southern rock, of which I am a big fan, though I have to admit, this is not an album I've listened to very much in a number of years. But we have Greg Allman, Laid Back. This is the 1973 original American copy, and this was Greg's first solo album after the Allman Brothers situation, which obviously those of you who are into the Allman Brothers would know what that was all about. This is beautifully packaged as well. It's a double sleeve single album. So in complete contrast to the Allison Chains one, which was a double album and a single cover, there you go. 1973. It's on Capricorn Records. Although it says made in UK on this one, so my apologies. I thought it was American. It's a British version, as most of my stuff is. This was given to me in 1974 by a guy who used to live opposite my mum and dad back in England. Which way around? His name was Michael Cole, and he used to work as a road manager for a number of bands in the US. At the time. Now, you know, as in my single digits, just still maybe double digits, that was extremely exotic. You know, someone who lived and worked in the States, and his mum lived in our street. Wow. And Mike gave me this as a Christmas present from his own personal collection, and that's always stayed with me. It's always touched me. It's in immaculate condition, of course, because I've had it for so long, since birth. And it's really an album that I've sort of treasured but never really listened to a great deal. I know this is gonna upset people. Wasn't a huge fan of the Allman sound. I know I'm wrong, but you know, you like what you like. Although having said that, I do like a lot of Southern rock, so maybe it's me. Anyway, so Greg Allman, Laid Back, beautiful album. As I say, in perfect condition. Controversy time. This will divide opinion. Many of you will go, ooh, others will you go, Okay, now, it's a picture disc. I know I said at the beginning, just ignore what I said, because I make shit up, so go along. Okay, Asia. Ooh. Asia on picture disc. Yeah, on picture disc. I wouldn't mind a black vinyl version of this as well, actually, so I get the proper cover. There you are, the track list. Those of you would know Asia. Heat of the Moment, of course, is the one that everybody knows, and has a little bit of a signature sound of the 80s, to be perfectly honest with you. This is the original lineup. This is Jeff Downes, Steve Howe, Carl Palmer, and John Wetton. Many will say it's not Yes. Some will say it's the Buggles. Some would argue it's the Yeggles. I don't really care, because it's a brilliant album. If you put your I was going to say racism, that's not really the right word. If you put your opinions aside, just listen to the music for what it is. You're talking four brilliant musicians at their peak, playing together in what was a real supergroup. Hence the second album, Alpha. This one continues to smile has left your eyes, which is Another one of their great hits, or one of their better known hits, if you like. Beautiful artwork, again, as usual. There we have the back of it. There's the back cover. Nothing special about the vinyl from memory. I shall just have a squeeze for you. Nice inner sleeve, lyrics inner sleeve. There, the guy's looking very, very young. I've got a split there, so I'm going to have to take care of that on classic black vinyl on the Geffen Records. I'm trying to think what year this came out. It says 83 on the label, so that must be right. So 1983, absolutely fantastic. Roger Dean cover, as Roger Dean does all, I think he's done all the artwork on all of their albums, so certainly for the Yes albums as well. So those of you that are fans of prog metal, yes, I like Yes as well. Yes, I like the Buggles too. Well, for what there is of them to like, there's not an extensive discography there. But anyway, that concludes for now with one major exception, which is the next episode. We shall be doing AC/DC in the next episode, and I have more AC/DC records than all of the other A's put together, and a lot of them have great stories attached to them as well. So I'd be really, really honoured if you could press all the buttons downstairs. You know what to do. Click like, support me as much as you possibly can so I can keep making these. That would be wonderful, and I'm looking forward immensely to sharing my in my case, my AC/DC collection with you. I'm very proud of it. Band that I absolutely adore, and have been responsible for me really getting into heavy rock and hard rock and classic rock in the first place. So some good stories around AC/DC. I hope you can join me for that next episode. In the meantime, stay grumpy. Don't put up with any of the rubbish from anybody else. Listen to what you love. Collect vinyl, collect CDs. I don't care what you do. Just listen to music. Appreciate it. And try and open your mind a little bit more to stuff that, like me, with some of the stuff that I'm listening to right now. I tend to listen to the same stuff over and over again, and so I try to leave the door open a little bit. Not too much, for some new stuff. So go and listen to a classic album by a band that you sort of like but hadn't listened to for years. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, stay grumpy, and I will see you for episode AC/DC very soon. Thanks for watching.